just the cost of living in Seattle? Isn't it freaking expensive? It's getting a little bit ridiculous. I know that's causing a lot of people to move away.
To some of the challenges that downtown's having or has had over the years. I mean, a big part of it had to do with the fact that
there are a lot of things going on in downtown Seattle. There's massive redevelopment of the waterfront. There's a $45 million project. We've got the World Cup coming in 2026. All the big tech companies are here now, and we're going to continue to be a tech hub as long as we have all this tech talent in the area. AI is huge right now with some of the companies that are establishing roots here and creating interesting technology.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why people want to live in hubs. And I think this urban environment that we have here in Seattle has changed so much in the last 5 years since COVID started. You look at the number of occupied apartment units in the downtown area, it's grown exponentially. This past June, the number of occupied apartment units was more than 58,000, and it represented a 3% increase since last year at this time. It is a 17% increase in comparison to 2019.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing about Seattle is we're going to be a massive anchor for What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Seattle Living and Wealth Building Show. I'm here with Justin Day and myself. This is all you got. So you got the dynamic duo here to talk about everything downtown Seattle. So what's been happening in Seattle? Is Seattle a great place to live and invest anymore, or would you not? Based on what's been happening here in the last couple of years. So there are a lot of things going on in downtown Seattle. There's massive redevelopment of the waterfront. There's a $45 million project. We've got the World Cup coming in 2026. So you may be surprised by the answer about whether it's a great place to invest or not. So stay tuned. We'll cover all those topics and more.
You know, the best part is we're probably going to have different opinions on it too.
It's highly possible. It's highly possible. So well, let's talk about some of the exciting things that are happening in downtown that would make you think, hey, things are looking good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like downtown is starting to come back to life a little bit. I've seen reports where, you know, the walking numbers of people who are actually working in downtown Seattle and the amount of walkers is back to kind of almost normal levels, not quite where we were in 2019, but absolutely, you know, well beyond where we were in 21, 22, and even right around about the same in 2023. So I think that's fantastic. You know, you just come down into this fantastic location where we are right now. We're right in the heart of the Denny Triangle, you know, in a fantastic location. And there's tons of people walking around and you know, it just feels really cool to be down here.
Yeah, it's definitely prime time in Seattle right now. Amazon foot traffic has picked up as they've required 3 days a week of work. And, you know, as you know, downtown was occupied by Amazon, maybe 25% of all office space. And so that changed over time as people started to work from home. So we're definitely starting to see an uptick there. Lots of new restaurants have opened to cater to the downtown Amazon workers and, of course, all the other Seattle workers. And another interesting thing is that there are a lot of new smaller tech companies coming into downtown Seattle. Seattle is one of the top 3 cities in the nation for new occupancies from new companies coming into the area. So lots of positive signs. Now, how much of that foot traffic, I guess, is just related to tourism? You know, we're in the middle of summer. Today is Seafair Friday. You're going to have the Blue Angels booming through here shortly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, obviously we got to have some factual information to reference here. So,
okay.
You know, the Downtown Seattle Association Revitalization Dashboard, you know, I pulled this information a little bit, and, you know, the number of visitors that are coming to downtown Seattle is still down a little bit from where it was in 2019, but it's shown a quite a steady uptick over the last several years. And obviously, you know, we all know why downtown kind of, you know, the growth kind of stunted. We're talking primarily because of COVID and everyone wanted to move outside the city. And, you know, there's also some other issues that we know about. such as homelessness in the area. Um, you know, yeah, I mean, just simply not having enough people here, restaurants and businesses closing down. But a lot of that is coming back to life now, which has been really exciting to see. So, number of visitors, though, specifically, I only think that's going to continue to increase, especially as we see that waterfront revitalize or the waterfront project completed. I think we're going to see an absolute boom in tourism, especially for the World Cup and the waterfront opening. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be nothing but great for the city and for downtown as a whole.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that the 2026 World Cup will be here in Seattle, amongst other cities, right? Across the US and Mexico. So that's cool. That's what's happening with the downtown waterfront revitalization project. We're kind of in the final phases of a multi-year project where we took down the Alaskan Way Viaduct, working to connect downtown Seattle directly to the waterfront. And one of the coolest things is going to be this overpass footbridge that's going to be a massive park. The aquarium is getting expanded. You're going to have a shark tank and an underwater aquarium, and it's going to be one of the coolest things ever, as if you're actually like scuba diving here in the Puget Sound.
Yeah, well, and it's 20 acres, right?
Yeah.
So it's a massive, massive development of that whole area. And I just feel like just the desirability of downtown as a whole is going to be that much higher because people are like, when people think of Seattle, they think of water, right? Water and mountains. And so to be in downtown Seattle and really not have a lot of access to water other than really Lake Union in the past, now it's going to be awesome because everyone is going to want to go down there.
Yeah. I mean, those are definitely a bunch of positives. So what about just the cost of living in Seattle? Isn't it freaking expensive? And, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I know that's causing a lot of people to move away.
Yeah. Well, I think, the biggest challenge that the downtown areas had is that people wanted to kind of move away from it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, as a whole, Seattle's real estate prices since COVID started have increased substantially. But the condo market has really seen the exact opposite. It's stunted, if not even decreased in value over the past several years. And so that's where, the variance between a single family home in Seattle versus a downtown condo has, grown exponentially, that variance. So, cost of living, of course, is a different thing, but, we're strictly talking about home prices and talking about rents. Those things, rents are increasing. Home prices for condos are actually decreasing.
Yeah. That's an interesting dynamic there, which makes you go, okay, does it make sense to invest in downtown Seattle in a downtown condo, or is it too risky? I guess what do you say? Right.
Yeah. I mean, would I say that downtown Seattle condos are a fantastic investment? I wouldn't say they're fantastic, but would I go ahead and buy a downtown condo if my budget allowed for that? And I do see a lot of opportunity in downtown condo market. To me, the variance is too big between our single family homes and what we see in downtown condos.
Yeah.
And just condos in general. But, there's not a lot of condo buildings that are being built right now. There's some, but not a lot. And so because of that, I just feel like, with this desirability of what we're seeing here in the Seattle area, I just think we're going to continue to see more and more people want to live in a vibrant hub like Seattle.
Yeah, it appears to be heading that direction, just based on, again, the increase in foot traffic, the increased requirement to have to actually work downtown. It's incredibly busy right now. But right now, we're in prime time summer, right, as well, too. So you can feel the energy, you can feel the foot traffic, you can see the cruise ships everywhere. So all those things are making it feel very, busy and like we're revitalized. But does it still make sense that you would want to invest in downtown Seattle?
Yeah, well, there's a reason why people want to live in hubs.
Yeah.
They want to live in urban environments. there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this urban environment that we have here in Seattle has changed so much in the last 5 years
Yeah.
since COVID started, or 4.5 years. And so, with the fact that it's continuing to change and in many respects becoming only more desirable,
Mm-hmm.
I really do think that you're going to see more and more and more demand. I mean, you look at the number of occupied apartment units in the downtown area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's grown exponentially. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was uh, in June, this past June, the number of occupied apartment units was more than 58,000, and it represented a 3% increase since last year at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually is a 17% increase in comparison to 2019. I mean, that's drastic, right?
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Yeah.
17% in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a big part of that is the number of people who are moving here to the city. But at the same time, I think one thing that is interesting in our world is it doesn't seem like people are having the same interest in buying condos versus renting apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why that is. What do you think?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of risk in choosing to buy a downtown condo right now. And I think if you look on a chart of the reasons to buy and the reasons not to buy, there are probably a lot more reasons not to buy for the average person. The average person being somebody who's maybe not sure how long they're going to stay here in Seattle, right? Somebody who maybe travels a bit, right? And because of the travel, they might want some flexibility to be able to, I guess, live wherever they want. And if, with some of the restrictions that you have in condos, you can't rent out your place for short-term rentals. I think with the uptick that's happening in a downtown condo, I think your horizon for appreciation is a lot longer, maybe 5 years for you to really realize the benefit versus, of course, the scarcity of single family homes here in our area.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, with it all just depends on the factors for that individual. But I think if you're someone who's looking to get into the housing market and you want to own and invest and you want to be here for 7 years or more, right, and you're comfortable with that, then I think you buy, and you can, as long as you can afford it, right? And you don't want to be a renter, you're owning, you've got appreciation. The quality of condominium buildings is much higher than the quality of an apartment building. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the safest bet. Now, if you're like the speculator who goes, downtown is just going to boom like no tomorrow once this revitalization project comes in, the World Cup comes in, all our buildings are occupied further, from businesses, then I think you could have some surprise upside. But I think that's a little bit more speculative as opposed to just sound solid for sure bet.
I mean, I think the one thing that I took away from what you said there was that, when people are looking to, people can rent, right?
Right.
They can obviously pay, let's just say it's $2,500 a month rent for a 1-bedroom, whereas they can buy a condo for $500,000. Okay. And obviously the biggest factor in determining, your affordability with the condo is what are your mortgage rates?
Yeah.
So that's where mortgage rates have made such a massive difference in people's desirability of buying condos, because the rent versus own factor is there's such a huge disparity.
Right.
And we haven't seen the appreciation that we've seen in single family houses. And so, we obviously have seen mortgage rates decrease a reasonable amount over the last couple weeks even. And I expect that to continue to decrease. And, as we see rates get down into, let's say, the 5% range, I do think that we're going to see that transfer from, wanting to rent versus, hey, maybe I can actually see some really positive, opportunity in purchasing a condo versus renting an apartment.
Yeah, you make a good point. The fact that rates are so high has made the rent versus buy decision from a financial perspective very difficult, right? in most cases, when you run the numbers, it makes more sense to rent than to buy, just from a pure financial perspective. But then if you think about the long-term upside, and then you start to see appreciation of 5% per year or more, then you start to get the benefit of capital appreciation. But you have to hold on to that property for a long time, because you factor in the cost of selling a property, which can be around 8%. So the long-term hold necessity for a condo investment at these higher rates is more of a requirement to make the financial picture pay off. However, not everybody just buys for financial reasons, right? There's a lot of factors that are a benefit to a homeowner in a condo building than there are to a renter in an apartment building.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a big challenge that a lot of people go through is not all condos even allow rental. Like they have rental caps, and maybe their rental caps are full.
Right.
It could very well be the fact that there is no rental cap, but sometimes those are a little bit more expensive buildings that, because it becomes a little bit more desirable to purchase those. I don't know. I feel like as a whole, I'm still a little bit bullish on the condo market.
Yeah.
I really see a lot of opportunity in it. Is it risky? Absolutely. But, I do feel like over time, over the next 5 years, I really do see a lot of potential especially in downtown.
Yeah.
I'm talking condos in a general statement, of course. You
Mm-hmm.
go to the east side right now, and condos are still very, very desirable. Condos are very, desirable but competitive in some circumstances.
Yeah.
Whereas here in Seattle, we haven't seen that, at least recently.
Bellevue has bounced back a little bit faster as far as the downtown goes in Seattle, but the condo market there is still not doing great. But as a whole, the Bellevue market with respect to businesses and occupying places and just a whole booming downtown feeling has definitely bounced back sooner than later.
Yeah, and to that point, though, we're talking downtown specifically.
Right.
You go to other areas like Kirkland and Woodinville and Issaquah, I mean, those are actually very active because they live more like
residences, residential communities as well too. Yeah. We've seen some really challenging decreases in prices for certain properties here downtown Seattle, and it's been quite surprising. On average, I was looking at appreciation year over year, and it's actually at 0%, which surprises me. Yeah. Looking at the stats as a whole here in downtown Seattle,
is that downtown specifically?
Downtown specifically, if I look at the latest data, it says that year over year. Let's see, prices were flat. But flat. But what we've seen, at least lately, is trending down.
I think that's what we feel. Right? That's what
right
for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is really interesting when we're looking at data for the city of Seattle and condos is, especially with all the zoning changes and the fact that with dados being able to get built in the back of properties, being able to condoize properties, and those are actually being included, obviously not in downtown Seattle,
right,
but those are being included in the numbers for condos. And so it almost skews the information a little bit, because they almost live truly more like single family homes, even though they're classified as condos.
That's a fair point. Yeah. So you're referring to how single family homes have been torn down, and they've put up 3 kind of townhome style properties, but their legal structure is a condo, right? Well, so you're saying those are potentially getting into the data here, right, which I agree would skew it completely.
Yeah, but it could even be a single family house with a dadu that's been put in the back, and then they sell the 2
and that's called a condo as well too.
So even the single family house in the front would still be technically a condo. So
So here we are. We're just outside Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill shows a decrease of 11% in condo prices year over year. Yeah. The total amount of inventory homes available for sale for condos is 4 months of inventory. And in the past, we've been around 1 to 2 months, which is a clear market that's advantageous to a seller. So now 4 months, what
balance.
we've gone the other way. We're not balanced. It's purely a buyer's market. Buyers are getting great deals on condos, and we're seeing sellers reduce prices in order to get them sold.
Yeah.
So we've flipped completely.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the definition of a balanced market is like 4 to
3 months. 3 months. No? Oh, you're right. Technically, 4 to 5 months in theory is balanced, right? Yeah.
In reality, if we get anywhere near 4 months, it is 100% a buyer's market.
I think those are the old definitions as to what's balanced. Here right now in Seattle, people are used to if homes don't sell in 14 days or less, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
So condos right now are averaging about 47 days to sell. So sellers got to have some patience if you're putting your condo on the market. Yeah. And what's happening is that because they're taking a long time to sell, it's I don't know how to describe it, but because they're taking a long time to sell, what happens is another condo owner in the building looks at that one taking a long time to sell. So then they come in at a lower price, and it still takes them a long time to sell. So then the owner who hadn't sold yet comes in and drops their price. So it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. That was the word I was looking for when it comes to the dynamic of what happens when prices are reducing.
Yeah.
Then at some point, people start to realize, oh, it's actually a great deal to buy a place right now. And then somebody buys and gets a great deal. And then next, more people start to buy. It's definitely this like herd mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
One thing that I find interesting about downtown Seattle, Maynard, and I think this is apparent in all of Seattle, but in downtown there's such distinctive areas, right?
Right.
You obviously got South Lake Union, you've got Belltown, you got kind of the financial shopping district, you got Pioneer Square. I mean, they're all so very different and unique.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we're talking about real estate, I mean, they all have different levels of appeal. But there's reasons why I think, people have this stigma about downtown Seattle and the fact that there are issues in Seattle. We all agree with there are some issues for sure.
Yeah.
But some areas are completely not seeing any of those issues. And the primary issue we're talking about is homelessness.
Homelessness, drug use on the street, right? Feeling unsafe walking down the street in certain areas. But it's definitely, certain blocks, right? And they definitely make the news, right? And not to say that things are under control, but things have definitely improved and people have noticed it for people who have been here over some time, right? Tourism has returned. There was a while there where, we started to get some bad press about tourists not wanting to come because of certain areas being a little bit scary. So I think a lot of people are realizing that it's, not by no means are we out of the woods, but that piece is getting under control and people are feeling a lot more safe. Just one block away here, this park, South Lake Union Park, Denny Park used to be full of tents, right? And now it's not. So the city has done a good job of getting things under control in many cases. Yeah.
It's improving, but it could just be pushing the problem elsewhere too.
Yeah.
It's hard to necessarily
it really is in pockets. That's kind of the thing, right? So I don't know if that's ever going to go away. So that's just a fact, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I completely get that. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of reasons why homelessness is apparent, and obviously, we want to make sure that our city shows well.
Yeah.
I think over the past several years, it hasn't shown quite as well as it could.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely things that are being done to kind of help improve that a little bit. I know there's something that's going in front of the city council, which I don't necessarily think is going to get approved or not, but where they're going to set these drug-free zones. So if you've been convicted of a drug crime and you're homeless, you're part of a homeless community, you're actually restricted from entering certain areas. And the one that I saw was like between 1st and 6th and Columbia and Stewart. So it's a pretty large area there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It encompasses everything from like Pike Place Market to like to Pacific Place pretty much, and then going all the way south to, Columbia.
Columbia, which is kind of like maybe downtown and the kind of the court district there.
And we're essentially coming all the way up here to like the edge of the Denny Triangle.
Right.
And, I mean, it would be really interesting if that was actually approved, because what would it do to people who are, utilizing drugs out in public? I mean, just push them out into different areas like South Lake Union, like the Denny Triangle, like Belltown,
That's weird, because that area, I can see why they would maybe pass that law, because there are certain stretches of like 3rd Avenue where you're like, you don't even want to walk down that street. So I mean, that's interesting. I think the thing is, like, we're in this perfect pocket right here where we've got the Amazon spheres, we've got Whole Foods across the street, we've got about a 4-block walk to Lake Union there, so you're on the water, like so many restaurants available to you. This is like the premium spot of downtown. One of the premiums, depends, right? You go to Belltown, it feels more residential. You got some high rises there. You got a lot of water views. So that's what's cool about Belltown. Lots of restaurants there. You're also very close to Pike Place Market. Pike Place Market has its own downtown condos where you can actually go to the market, and that's your grocery store. Yeah. So it's not just a place where they throw fish on TV. That's actually a place where, some residents go to shop. Yeah.
But it's interesting because, especially with the fact that the waterfront is going to become such a large part of the downtown experience, that's where I think areas like Belltown, I mean, there's obviously a lot of desirability in the area that we're in here, Denny Triangle, South Lake Union. Yeah. But I think, it's only going to continue to improve as you get further closer to the water. Yeah. I mean, if you were to ask me where I would want to live, I mean, yeah, of course, if you're working for Amazon, I mean, this is a great place to live. Yeah. But, if you want to actually enjoy some of the touristy things, not touristy things, no one wants to, when they're living in the community, you don't want to
you don't want to live there.
But the downtown or the waterfront revitalization is really all about parkland and making it, picturesque and sitting down there reading a book. And I can just envision what that's going to be like for people that even live in those areas. It's going to be super highly desired.
Yeah, it'll look pretty cool. You don't have to take 100 steps to go down to the waterfront. And they're making those piers, which do feel like touristy areas, more attractive to residents because of the parks and the bike paths and other amenities. I think there's pickleball courts being put in all kinds of random places downtown to satisfy the trend there as well too. There's like a mini soccer field they're also putting in over on the waterfront as well.
Yeah. I mean, to go back in a little bit to some of the challenges that downtown's having or has had over the years. I mean, a big part of it had to do with the fact that people exited out of downtown. And
right.
There was almost like this free reign for homelessness, drug abuse, crime, businesses shuttering their doors. And, with COVID kind of being in the rearview mirror, a lot of that has kind of gone by the wayside. And that's not saying that there's still not economic issues that are causing, businesses to not shut. But at the same time, I think you're seeing enough excitement and revitalization.
Right. Summer. I 100% agree with that, right? Yeah. The more residents you have living here who care and make a difference, the more it's busy every day, then the more the city is going to pay attention to worrying about, some of the other things, or those things are becoming more minor because there are so many other good things going on that they're not as apparent to the person living down here or coming down here to visit or coming down here to eat at one of the great restaurants that we have.
Yeah.
So that's a great point that you make. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting as well, like we were talking a little bit earlier about hotel room demand and the visitors that are coming here.
Taylor Swift, when she came into town, 99.99999% occupancy.
What's interesting is that in June of 2019, we were essentially at a peak for tourist traffic and, truly the desirability of downtown. And we actually, in June of 2024, we saw 105% of the hotel occupancy that we saw in 2019.
Wow.
To me, that's kind of
that says a lot right there. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it shows that so many people are coming here to Seattle. I mean, in terms of occupancy rates, and this may be because we don't have enough hotels in the downtown core, but in the United States, Seattle is the third highest occupancy rate in the entire country, behind New York and behind Oahu.
Yeah.
Which is also an outstanding.
That's incredible right there. Right. There. Yeah.
But it just shows that as it continues to show off better with the World Cup coming, I just see like, you know, that tourist dynamic really increase. And therefore people are going to want to be around. They're going to want to live in that atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Yeah. I mean, let's not forget about the other things that are happening, right? The Seattle Kraken has now been here, what, 4 years? 4 years now, 3 years. The Seattle Storm, occupying
the Sonics coming back.
The Sonics are coming back. 100%. Absolutely. That's a guarantee. That's happening. So. Concert season is like the concerts that are happening at Climate Pledge and, what is it? The Seahawks Stadium and T-Mobile. Yeah. It's amazing how many shows are happening here. You know, even Gasworks Park is having massive electronic dance music festivals that are unheard of, when the whole place is just occupied. You got boats surrounding, playing music. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, there's even on July 27th, Seattle Center is going to be hosting Blast Fest.
Yeah, okay,
which is like a all-day celebration of music, culture, and diversity. Yeah, like that's something that maybe wouldn't have been held in the area. But speaking of, like, you know, Seattle Center, you know, you mentioned the Kraken. I mean, obviously that was a huge change to the entire area. You know, we obviously had Lower Queen Anne has always had its certain level of desirability because of its close proximity to downtown. Obviously, the monorail is kind of the only way to get back and forth easily.
Yeah, or you walk 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
Still like to walk as much.
Yeah,
you know, it's just interesting to see how, you know, the Kraken has impacted that area because obviously the draw of the team.
Hockey fans are nuts. Yeah, that's why.
They are definitely nuts. But, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that it's been all positive as well. I mean, you know, obviously there was huge changes many years ago, you know, with the Mercer mess that used to be there, and it still is to a certain extent.
Well, the Mercer mess is horrible.
Yeah, but I mean, think of how bad it was before when it was a one-way street.
Yeah, that was what, 10 years ago?
It's around there.
Probably, yeah.
And I mean, you know, obviously a big part of the reason for the change was because of the development of South Lake Union and the necessity for getting in and out. But, you know, it's just interesting to see how even communities like Lower Queen Anne are changing, you know, and it's going to continue to change as time goes on, especially if the Sonics come back, and you're just going to have more and more and more, you know, activity in those types of areas.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of excitement involved with all of it, but we don't really know how all of it's going to play out. I mean, I'm excited to see what the city's going to look like.
Yeah.
But, you know, is it all going to be positive? I mean, I don't know.
What are you worried about? Yeah, I'm confused here. Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I'm excited about what it's going to look like. I'm excited about what it's going to look like, but I don't necessarily think it's all positive all the time. You know. Yeah.
What are your fears? Let's talk about that. Right. I'm a little confused because it was all very positive, and then you're like, I don't know how it's going to turn out. So what would be a negative ramification of all these cool things that you say are happening?
Well, we still have existential issues. Like homelessness is an issue that you know isn't going to go anywhere. And so
what else?
You know, crime rates.
Crime. Okay.
Yeah, which is, in many
Traffic.
respects tied to homelessness.
Traffic.
Traffic is
Yeah.
going to become
Okay.
more and more of an issue as time goes on. Obviously, the one positive is we are actually getting a 21st century transportation system here in the Seattle area, like light rail. But those are all things that are going to continually change, and it's not necessarily always going to be for the better.
Yeah. Well, with change just comes challenges, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of times people really loved a certain vibe that Seattle had.
Yeah.
That vibe in some respects is kind of gone, like the grunge scene and the music scene. The music is different than it was. A totally different music scene.
Yeah.
And I think Seattle's just kind of transforming into this 21st century, tech hub. And it's not the Boeing, Microsoft kind of.
Definitely not. Microsoft is still huge here. Yeah. Amazon, Starbucks, you got Apple, we have Google. Yeah. We have, all the big tech, companies are here now, and we're going to continue to be a tech hub as long as we have all this tech talent in the area. AI is huge right now with some of the companies that are establishing roots here and creating interesting technology. We're also a big healthcare hub as well too. Not a lot of people realize about all the biotech companies that are here in our area. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing about Seattle is we're going to be a massive anchor for where there is intelligence and educated people who can bring the right kind of talent to what is happening in this 21st to 22nd century world. That's going to continue to bring companies into the area. And so that's why you would bet on investing in downtown Seattle right now. You just may not expect those big bumps in capital appreciation when it comes to your condo investment like you may have in the past. But I do agree. I think it's a safe place to invest if you're looking at the long term, right? And you could have some incredible upside. But I think it's just got to be the right situation for the right person.
Well, and it has to, I mean, if you're buying it as a pure investment, there's probably better investment opportunities out there.
Yeah.
But if you're buying it to live in it, live that lifestyle, I mean, I don't know if there's really a better place to.
Yeah. From a lifestyle perspective, there's less investors investing in downtown Seattle, but if you can get a good deal on a condo, which you can right now, right, and you're paying cash, you can get a reasonable cap rate on the return based on the rents that you can get, as long as your HOA dues are low. So it's truly a case by cases.
But the lifestyle, I mean, to jump into that a little bit, I think one of the things that didn't happen for a really long time was a lot of downsizers that were moving into the downtown area. And I think that's going to come back. Because it's only becoming more and more desirable. I mean, with obviously the restaurants and the waterfronts we talked about, so I just feel like the boomers who are obviously, making changes from different situations, I have a feeling that's going to continue to drive. I always think when I think condos, I always think about the millennials, first time home buyers, people that are, working in the tech world. But in many respects, it's people that are wanting to enjoy a more urban lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely
really what the draw is here to downtown.
Yeah. It definitely feels a lot better too. So, all right. So what is your, to wrap this up, what is your, I guess, conclusion? What do you want the viewer to take away here from your kind of viewpoints on downtown Seattle?
Well, downtown Seattle's changed a lot over the years. COVID was a big part of that. But even before COVID, we were seeing a lot of development, a lot of change in downtown. But COVID's kind of stunted things. And I do feel like Seattle and downtown Seattle is really being revitalized and growing in a way that is super exciting. So it's going to be fun to see what it looks like over the next several years with the waterfront and, just the continued development of areas like South Lake Union and as it kind of will tend to grow out a little bit more. I don't know. I'm just really excited about it.
Cool. There you go. My conclusion is that Seattle is going to continue to have some of the best restaurants, the best cocktail bars. You cannot have another city in the area where you've got lakes where you can access by boat, like just like that. In minutes, you got 30 minutes to get to the mountains and go on hikes. So I love downtown Seattle, but for me, mainly for restaurants, just being a great kind of food scene. The energy is great. As far as investing in condos, cautiously optimistic, right? I still think we might have some bumpy roads ahead of us for the next year when it comes to condo valuations, but long term, I think it's a great place to invest.
And the key thing is once mortgage rates go
Mm-hmm.
up, you think that
Yeah. 100%, right? So I can be proven wrong, but 6.4% is where rates are at today. So that's about 50 basis point decrease here in just, a few weeks. So we're trending in the right direction. So, all right. Well, thanks, Justin. Good chatting with you about all things Seattle.
Lots to be excited about.
All right, everybody. See you on the next show.